Hey, this is Ken again, and we are doing another sketch cover for Angel's Blood. Um, Wrapping up the last of Kickstarter, and I'm super excited because the new Kickstarter starts later this week. So, with all the rewards going out tomorrow for the last one, we're ready to start immediately. I'm wasting no time. Um, Mostly because I just want to keep the momentum going. I'm excited about the new projects I have lined up. And I've made a plan and I'm sticking with it. So uh, this here cover is for a backer named Seth, and he actually got a book one and book zero sketch cover. So I did another video before for the other one for him, and this one is the last thing I need ready to send out tomorrow. The last one was a big Golgoth picture, and when someone gets two books, I try not to do the same thing twice. So, being that I have two main characters, I decided I'm going to go with a Miller picture on this one. I want to do something different. I started sketching this out in blue already, and I did it very light. Um, and I'm not positive which way it's going to go, so I'm going to still keep with the light blue outline here. And we'll do a close up of the face, ear here, and Miller's looking down. I want an intense look on his face. I have a little bit of an idea where this is going, but like uh like all art, we're gonna just see the eyes, nose, mouth. That gives me an idea where the chin ought to be, and then just kind of build out from there. Like a lot of artists, I always start with the eyes. It's funny because I've been watching some other tutorials, some drawing videos, mostly for just entertainment sake, but a little bit for um, the sake of helping me get used to doing this kind of stuff, which I'm trying to do. I'm sorry, you hear my guinea pigs in the background. They're probably upset because it's the middle of the night and they haven't had food in a couple hours. Animals are needy like that, kind of like kids. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, I've been doing more videos and I want to do more videos. So I've been watching other better artists doing their tutorial videos and their just draw alongs and stuff. And it's kind of fun to watch, and I'm getting some ideas of how to keep it going, how to keep talking. Um, I've said on my other videos I lose time when I'm drawing because usually it's art time passes differently than regular time. So sometimes I'll pause or I'll zone out a little bit, like I'm doing right now. Just thinking about Miller in general. I'm having to revisit the character. Other than sketch covers, I haven't actually drawn this character in a book in a very long time. Um, the Miller that we drew, that I did for Angel's Blood Zero, even was done years ago. And he was a younger version. So, I mean, in actuality, if I think about it, I don't think I've drawn Father Miller in a story, an actual story, in going on 15 years. I draw him a lot. I draw pinups or I draw promotional pieces of him because he's the main character. But the this older version of him hasn't been seen, hasn't been done by me since Angel's Blood number one, which, if you follow the story, that's a pretty old book. Even though we launched the Kickstarter 4 years ago, it was because that book had been sitting on the shelf for just far too long, and I couldn't bring myself to let that stay. This is taking on a life of its own. It's interesting. Um, I'm not sure if I do or don't like that. It's starting to look a little more comic booky than I'm used to, but the shapes and the sharpness of the hair. I don't usually draw my hair that way, but I sort of like the way it's coming out. We'll see. We'll see. Art has a life. I, as much as I feel like I am the creator, I mean, I go where it goes, and for me, especially because this is a passion project, this is not something that I do for a job, not for Angel's Blood. I mean, I freelance, There are other books I've done and do for work, and those I have to keep some integrity and stick with what I'm asked to do. But like for my passion projects for Angel's Blood and Spring River and the new book Hatched, I let my art take me. So this is one time where I get to actually be ruled by my inspiration. And I enjoy that. So I'm just letting this, I'm figuring this one out as it comes. It was going to be something else when I started it. I do feel a little bit like, there we go, a little bit darker pencil. I like doing sketches with these darker pencils because they allow me to, it's almost like inking. I get to do thicknesses and darker things here and there. So back to my point, I zoned out because I was remembering the eyelids on Father Miller. A little heavy. He's got a slanted eyelid there because it makes him tighter. It makes him look more tighter. The younger version of Miller, even though I made him more like stubbly and rugged, he still was younger and more wide-eyed. Just something that I came up with in drawing the original character and coming up with how to make him look a certain age, and again modeling him after the actor Alan Rickman and what he looked like, and studying his bags under his eyes and stuff like that. So I'm checking back and forth on my videos to see how that looks, and I'm not especially happy with this eye. I want it to be a sketch, but I also want it to be halfway decent. So, for example, anyway, he's got a little bit more bags under his eyes. When you're drawing, especially comic book style, the more details you put on a face, the more it tends to age someone. So you think of a smoother face gives the illusion of a younger, more youthful appearance. So it's something to watch and be careful with. More details tend to look like more wrinkles or more imperfections. Uh, and that's just a trick of the trade, but unless you get into really good rendering, because really, if you're drawing an actual person from a photo, for example, you'll see wrinkles here and here. Even younger people will have a little laugh line or something, and that doesn't mean they're older. But if you draw them empirically, you're reducing a person to their more simplified lines for this comic book style art, this kind of illustration. It it's important to pick and choose what details you put in because you can make it look really old, really fast, really easy, even if you're being totally accurate to what the figure looks like. So this guy, this Father Miller, he's got a couple crow's feet here. I do think he's gonna have to have. See, that's another thing here. He would have a line kind of going from his nose to here, but when you do that, you make him look like he's scowling. You know what? They say if someone has resting bitch face. Pardon my French. Um, that's because you get those lines that just stay there no matter what, and that comes with age and sometimes, or sometimes just being a bee for your whole life. Some young people that got that look, it just stuck on them. That's neither here nor there. So, Father Miller's apparently is looking off to the right. Something happened over to the right. His eyebrows aren't thick enough, so I'm gonna thicken those up because I want him to have really good thick eyes. So now Father Miller doesn't have like a well-kept hairstyle. In fact, this is too well-kept even. I need to make it a little shaggier. I want it to be rougher. I want it to look like cut it with a straight razor. And then it'll stick over the ear a little bit because it wouldn't be brushed very well. It's just kind of rough there. He's got like a good, nice head of hair, but he doesn't really give a crap. Doesn't take care of it. He should look weathered. He should look like he does not polish his appearance for much of anything or anybody. We never really get into what he does as a. Never like see him taking confessions or anything in the story. In fact, you never see Father Miller interact with a parishioner or anybody. We just don't have that. We jump right into the action where Miller meets the demon and he recruits him for his mission. And then all of a sudden they're attacked by other demons and bam, man, there's a big fight. So that would be in this issue, book number 1. Let's take a look. See, right off the bat, we jump into the church. Angels up above here are flying. They're mocking Golgoth. They're laughing at him. They're pointing down at him like, ha ha, little jerk. In my world, angels have no clothes. They're so like they're nude. I have a little bit of nakedness going on. I hide most of the good bits, but it's not totally M-rated. It's a little bit M-rated. So then Golgoth comes in and he, with his nasty wings, he confronts Miller. See, this is what Miller looks like in his first appearance, and you see I've got rugged, weathered hair and stuff like that. The art style is very different than how I draw now. So, when you see this, yeah, the cover is going to look a little different. But, I mean, I drew this probably 20 years ago. So they talk and then they go over their history. These other two demons come and they get into a huge fight. And then there's blood and violence and stuff. Spoilers. Okay. But that's just part of Miller's story. The part of him being a priest and doing priesty things actually has very little to do with the story we're telling. That might be a whole different saga for another time. So this little wispy curl of hair here, I've talked about it at the back. His hair just isn't kept. It's not really like a mullet. It's just that he doesn't. It curls up. He doesn't brush it, comb it, trim it. That's a serious homage to Todd McFarlane, who, when he drew the Hulk, every character he had, it seemed like his hair went back and he just had this. I'm not sure if it was a style choice or if Todd just didn't know how to end a haircut. But so everybody had one of these little. Rick Jones had a whip like that. Clay Quartermain, even every now and then you'd see Bruce Banner, his hair would just go in the back because I don't know. Todd has kind of curly hair, so maybe that's where he gets that. Maybe that's what his hair does. Um, I know if my hair gets too long in the back, it starts to flip whichever way. So Miller is going to have not a very thick neck. He's not muscular or anything, but he's a relatively fit guy. Not slim, not just an average build. Like he was buff back in the day when he was in the military. He was pretty good shape when he was in the army. And I just feel like that hasn't necessarily changed, although he hasn't probably kept up with a workout or, kept in great shape. He also wouldn't just let himself go either. Not from after all those years of training, just living like that. I always liked having this ornate, squiggly thing. He's got one of those cloths that drapes around his neck, as priests sometimes do. He's also got a cross, and I'm going to put just beads here. I don't make it like a rosary, and that's largely because I'm too lazy to actually make an accurate rosary. Forgive my blasphemy. But you'd have to have like the accurate amount of beads and the large beads every so many beads, and that's not my world. So Again, the priest side of Father Miller is almost more anecdotal than actually part of the story. It's a story point, but his priesting, like I said, isn't relevant to what we're doing because we skip right over all that in the next issue. In fact, when we start to get to what Miller does on his journey with Golgoth, they get out in the world and start getting into some violence and stuff. So I'm kind of cool with this. I'm liking this a lot. But at the same time, it's not enough. Miller can have some stubble, aren't you? How long is this video going? I don't want to make it too long, but not nice even stubble. We're not talking like George Michael Faith stubble. We want just I want stubble to look like, man, he's just gross, maybe from yesterday, or uh, at least maybe they call it 5 o'clock shadow. I don't buy. My shadow by 5 o'clock is not that serious. But Miller's would be a little rough. I even think up here when he's shaving, he probably wouldn't even give himself a clean sideburn. So I give him a little bit of wispy stuff there too. Um, and it was like me, my chin hairs tend to grow a little bit faster than the rest. So I'll give him some of that. Yeah, I originally had a whole different thing in mind, and I was going to do a kind of a sketchy, bloody thing for Father Miller, but the face just decided to, for me, where it was going to go, and I think this doesn't call for that kind of blood. I would like a little bit of shadow, shading under his eyes. I always think Miller should have a little bit of sunken eyes. He just doesn't. Not wide-eyed. It probably doesn't sleep very well. I mean, his whole story is he's got this second sight that he's running from. He's hiding from. It's why he's in the church where it's relatively safe until Demon tracks him down. That's a little bit much there. I did want his nose to have a little bit of character. I don't want him to have too pretty a nose. Like I said, he should be decent enough looking, but rough. He's supposed to be around 40 to 45 here, and that's just because in this issue that's how old he is. If I were drawing this on the Zero cover, I'd make him in his 20s, like he was when he was in Desert Storm. And I just don't like a blank background, so in this, I'm going to set this picture in later in the story where Miller has a fight with a demon, and he's got this acid, and there's a smoke rising up from behind him. Just so it gives me something to put in the background of the sketch because it just looks pretty bland to me. Like I said, that's just a little bit. It's just enough. Just enough to add some detail there. Really the main thing you want to focus on is the foreground, your main character. That's your Father Miller. Guy's having a hard day. About to go back to the ship. He didn't want to. He's going to be this reluctant hero because he didn't want to go looking for this angel. He knew about the angel. He's the one that saw the angel. Yeah. So I am making this messier because I didn't like. I think the cleanliness of these hair wisps a little too anime for me, and everybody that knows me knows I really can't stand anime. Largely for that reason, the hair all with the jagged edges, and it's so clean and weirdly antiseptic, and somehow all looks alike to me. No offense, sorry guys if you like anime. Just know that I don't. I definitely want my work to give that vibe. So the eyes aren't that big, the hair's not that wild. I am still though I'm going to take a little bit of red and do this. Now I have the red details on the things you got going on here. I like giving Miller a little bit of yeah. So liking that. So Seth, thank you. This is Angel's Blood #1, which is part of your Kickstarter rewards. Thank you for supporting me and us. You might notice this book is published under Ink Therapy, whereas the sequel that we just did, um, Angel's Blood Zero here, was published under Punk Comics because Ink Therapy was my label that I was using at the time trying to start a whole new thing, and it just didn't take. I didn't like the name as much as I thought I would, so I cut it. I gave up on it. It wasn't cool. Punk Comics became a thing that's between Michael Barr and I, the writer, creator, and myself. Um, that label is specifically for just for stuff that he and I do together. And the other thing, and I'm looking for it, is, well, my Ken's Comics logo, which you saw at the beginning that I did a little doodle for. Because that's what the rest of my books are going to be put under. And I'm segmenting them for that reason. The Punk comic stuff is specifically just for Mike and me, for stuff that we do together. But for everything else that I do, and a lot of things I'm doing on my own or that I have coming up, um, I'm using this straight up, this logo here. See that up in the corner? Let's see if I can show this. Boom. Ken's Comics can have that little stabby guy. and really that's what it's for. Before I cut, I want to show this because coming up this Thursday, join me live this Thursday at noon. I'm going to be doing some live drawing, do a Q&A. I've got people showing up to the event, and I'm going to do some sketches, probably not on sketch covers, but maybe if I have a request. But we're launching my new book, Hatched, which is going to be a interactive Kickstarter. So it's a sketchbook project, and you'll have the chance to not only support the sketchbook, but you'll be able to get your own ideas. Now, backers can choose a reward level that will let them get their ideas drawn by me and published in the book. So it's your chance to get published, become part of the project, have a little bit of fun, and work with me on something. So that's a ton of fun. And the stuff that's not commissions or collaborations like that, there's just going to be a ton of other stuff. I have boxes and boxes of material of things that are unpublished. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of that. Things that maybe you haven't seen before, or if you've seen it, you've only seen it on like Facebook. So this is it. Angel's Blood Zero. These two happy-go-lucky guys are going out to my man Seth. Once again, I appreciate it. And I hope you guys support Hatched and look for more stuff in the future. Take care of each other. Peace.